It's 6:31 on Thursday, April 24th. This is the monthly meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District. First thing we're going to do tonight, before we do the minutes, we're going to discuss a policy for video recordings of meetings. We're going to switch off item 1 and 2. So we're going to talk about video recordings first.
So we had a few questions after the last meeting. I think some confusion and obviously a variety of concerns and differences of opinion. And so what I was going to suggest is, the reality is that our the nature of our recording and the way it's been handled has just kind of been done, I'll say naturally, without the adoption of any sort of formal policy or agreed procedure for doing so. And so, in light of all of the discussion last month, I am going to suggest that we adopt or agree that we will adopt a formal written policy that the board can consider the adoption of over the next couple of months, and that way we'll obviously be able to give very good notice to the public, and everyone will be very clear on exactly how the recordings and the postings are going to be handled going forward. And should the board be willing to move forward with that approach, I would suggest that we have a motion that we are going to record this meeting tonight and post it as it has been in the past. And then work towards the adoption of a policy of some kind addressing the meeting recordings and postings over the next few meetings.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we record the meeting tonight going forward until we have a formal policy.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that's the policy for tonight, is we're going to record it and publish it.
That's right. We'll record and post the meetings until a policy is adopted, and then we will follow whatever that policy says. So.
Okay.
And why are we voting on that tonight? It's on the agenda, right?
It was.
That's right. I put the policy on for discussion tonight, but I didn't want to just put it on the agenda, and I wanted to have a chance to draft a policy and receive feedback from the board members. So my thought is that we would put together a draft policy that follows current practice and distribute it, and then receive feedback from the board members, and then y'all could have a discussion at a subsequent board meeting regarding any potential changes before we actually make any changes. We talked about public notice concerns and all of that, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Next thing is minutes. Need to approve the minutes. And I've got 2 sets of minutes here. One is from March 27th. One is from February 27th. I believe the February 27th was a corrected issue. Is that correct, Davis? Do you remember?
I believe so. Isn't that right, Austin? Or I don't know if Stephanie just sent those for signature in the packet from
Okay.
just a timing standpoint.
Okay.
I don't think those were the ones we were.
But they were approved last month.
Okay. All right.
This March is.
All right. That's for you. And then for March 27th, the minutes. Anybody have any comments or corrections?
I do not.
Okay.
No discussion, I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So be it. All right, comments from the public. I've got, let's see, Betty Brown, no. Bruce Freeman, Any comments? Okay. Mark Robin,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
Just real quick.
Please come to the podium.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
I didn't know we did that.
Make it official.
Okay. I just want to make a statement. I watched the minutes of last month's meeting, and I wanted, in my personal opinion, I thought it was the most unprofessional, juvenile, the first 10 minutes display of everything. I thought it was a very bad idea to begin with, to not be transparent and to stop doing it to try to get more people in here. People historically have come here when they have a problem. And if they don't know they have a problem, if they haven't watched the minutes and know there's something going on, they're not gonna come in. We have half this neighborhood is very elderly. They can't get out of their house sometimes. Sometimes all they have is the internet, the minutes, the video minutes. To have them just come up every night, it's just not gonna happen. It's, people come here when they have a problem, not just to sit around and watch you guys discuss things. I am pro video, pro any type of transparency you can have. I think it's good for your safety, because nobody can accuse you of doing something wrong. You just have to point on the video, look at minutes 7 minutes and 38 seconds, that's what we said. Whatever, I don't think it'll ever bite you in the rear, by, you guys are honest, you're doing your jobs. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, no big deal. If somebody catches it and brings it up to you guys, that's what it's for. Anyway, that's my point. That's all I got.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. D Judge,
I agree with Mark.
okay, is that your comment?
That's my comment.
Okay, that's everybody. All right, next item is financials. Tiffany.
All right, you guys. Find my report.
Wait a minute. Got a book here.
And that's the wrong book. You got, we have two
That's the
books
wrong
tonight.
Wrong book.
There you go, that's it right there.
Okay.
I was gonna say, how did that get so thick?
It's a little bit longer today, but we left off with $92,056. You'll see one voided check at the top. That's that one from the last meeting that was incorrect, so I voided it. Then you'll see a line item y'all don't see as often, and that's add in old voided refund checks. It's time for us to sheet the unclaimed property to the state. So what we do is all these refund checks that we send out to your residents when they move out, your operator sends us the remaining balance on their deposit, and we issue a payment to them. That's how the refunds work. If they come back to my office as undeliverable or forwarding address, we send them out multiple times, trying to get people to cash their checks and receive their money eventually. So now we're looking at the time period of March 2nd, 2024 through, no, 2023 through March 1st, 2024. After all this time has passed, they still haven't cashed their checks, we sheet that money to the state. So you'll see today, we have just the bulk at the top, add in old voided refund checks, and then we have a check today to the Texas State Comptroller for remitting that unclaimed property. It goes by name, and so you can go online and search your name. I would definitely recommend it to everybody. You may have some money out there you didn't realize, so, but that's what that is. Below your receipts, we've got your general operating transfer from your online account, a transfer from your capital projects fund that's reimbursing some engineering expenses, and as well as the C3 contractors pay estimate number 7. That's the one that we wrote at the last meeting. Then you've got interest earned and bank service charges under checks previously approved. We issued your CenterPoint Energy and Energy for utility expenses. Dynamic cleaning crew, this just came in after my report was finished last month, so I had that check for y'all to sign as well. And then the C3 contractors. Today for y'all's approval, we've got Alpha Lawn Care for lawn services, Consolidated for internet services, Dynamic cleaning crew for the office cleaning, your bookkeeping fees for the month, maintenance and operations for the month, prepared publications for operations admin, your joint drainage and your STP billing, legal fees for both firms, Touchstone for your emergency alert system, a whole lot of projects going on with your engineer. Below that, you'll see your Texas State Comptroller, that's remitting that check to the state. Handful of refunds for the month, and then new blank checks to replace the ones that we issued. Ending balance of $94,174. Your next page is your online account. Accounts receivable coming in $64,707. You've got that transfer over to your general operating fund. Customer returned NSF items. Now, I always make this comment, it's not your account going NSF, going negative, it's people paying into your account that are NSF on their side. Including your Texas Class account, which is I think at about 4.3% interest, just by the way, right now. We have total operating funds of $1,358,000. Your tax account, tax collections coming on in at $28,000. We earned interest on the account, and then you'll see the transfers over to your general fund and your debt service fund, just pushing the money where it's allocated. Ending balance of $25,166, and we are 90.86% collected as of 3/31. So overall, we've got just under $200,000 that we're waiting on people to pay in.
So that was as of March 31st.
Yes.
So we've got almost a whole month of other collections possible.
Yes, and those reports get updated, they'll get updated monthly, so
Right.
those come from, was it
Right.
Tammy McGrath's
So-
office?
Okay.
Your next page is your capital projects fund, just interest and service charges there, and then we've got a check over to your engineer for all of those ongoing projects, and then Right Solutions for Plantation Village drainage improvements. This is the first pay estimate for them and their final. Ending balance, including your investment account, is at $1,072,000. Your debt service fund, taxes coming in and earned interest brings us to $811,000. Your next page, your sewer treatment plant fund. We received payment in from East Plantation and your general operating fund. We issued both of your blank checks, so one to Energy and one to Republic Services. Then today we have GFL Environmental, your bookkeeping fees for the month, maintenance and operations for the month, engineering fees, and then 2 new blank checks to replace the ones that we issued. Ending balance of $7,474. Your joint drainage fund, also receiving in payment from East Plantation and River Plantation General Operating. We issued your energy blank check, and then today we have bookkeeping fees, engineering fees, and a new blank check for energy. Ending balance is at $12,946. Your next page is your profit and loss for the month of March. Looking at the middle column there, overall we're looking at October through March so far. You'll see we've collected a lot more maintenance taxes than we anticipated, so that is wonderful. I think that we'll be, eventually, the next few months, we'll be looking again at your maintenance taxes. And at that time, we'll look at your value, and Lauren, I know he's here now, but we'll be discussing your rates at those meetings coming up as well. Overall, so far, you've collected an income $1,590,000. Your water expenses and sewer expenses are on to the next page. All the way down past your other expenses, this is where your other administrative fees are. We are still sitting at a middle column of positive $672,000 so far, so ahead of what we anticipated, and that's really good. Your next page is your profit and loss for the sewer treatment plant fund. Zeros across the bottom show that we have built everything out to River Plantation and East Plantation. Your next page is the same idea there, your joint drainage fund. Zeros across the bottom show we've built everything out for the participants. Your last page, you guys only see this quarterly, and if we're looking at it landscape, this is your investment report. The bottom left-hand section, if you're looking at it long ways, is just showing your Texas class rates and your high yield money market rates. So all of your accounts are being invested, all of your money's being invested except for your checking account. That's because you have checks going in and out of it. You can't have it in a high yield for that one. Overall, you'll see January, February, and March, we're at 4.4%. I've seen it drop a little bit, so we're looking at, I think 4.3 is about where we're at right now. Overall, though, very good interest. And you'll also notice they do mimic each other. The high yield money market account that we have with Central Bank was agreed upon specifically by our company, by LNS, to mimic the Texas class rates. So y'all are getting very good interest. That's everything I have for y'all. Any questions?
I have a question. Tiffany, can you explain the invoice from last month for Stanley Lake Mud?
I get what you're saying.
That was voided.
Okay, because I didn't see it check, cause the check was out there to be signed.
It was voided,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of all the financials. Do I have a motion to accept the financials?
I make a motion, we accept the financials.
And then I'm paying the check, approve the check.
And every category?
Okay, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So financials are approved. Next item is, I'm gonna switch the, item 5, I'm gonna delay that for a minute. We're gonna go to the operator's report, number 6.
All right, good evening,
Mario?
board. Good evening. We have a report for March 2025. Connections at 978 with 29 vacancies. Revenues totaling $63,909.40 with a bill consumption of just almost under 6 million gallons. We're 93% accounted for this month with nine leaks that were repaired. Several of those were water mains. Collected 6 bacteriological samples, all came back good. Wastewater treatment plant numbers below that. Everything is working within parameters, no excursions or breaches to report. And the plant operated at 65% of its permitted capacity. We have reuse revenues of $750.10. And then below that, we have your aged receivables at $57,199.05. Next page, we have our production accountability report. This was 93 accounted for this month and 94% for a 12-month average, and your 2 charts reflecting those numbers. And final page is your DMR that was submitted to the state. Again, no excursions to report.
I've got a question on the park, but actually, it's in general. Do we have a policy, when overtime is justified and can be charged? The reason I'm asking, I can't think of why the park would be requiring overtime, and I see it was billed on the park. I'm just asking that question.
That's for the conduit that was ran?
Huh?
For the conduit that was ran? What's
It doesn't have a label next to it, it just shows overtime.
Okay, I'll look into that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, it shows it under, but it's billed under the park section, and if it's the drain, why would it be billed against the park?
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me take a look at that one. And
Okay.
see.
I'm just
I'll
curious.
get back with you too.
I was wondering if there was a policy that was followed. You know, I can see an emergency, we might, obviously would have to use it, but I couldn't think of how you would need overtime working in the park.
On the park maintenance, yeah. It probably just fell into the wrong category, but I'll take
If
it.
that's possible.
So that could be where they were fixing that line
Where we
on
do
the park itself.
Yes.
But it
So
still-
that wasn't
it
an
still
urgent
wouldn't be the
matter
park.
though, so it shouldn't have been overtime, right?
So we
If
ran
that's
it-
what it was.
Yeah, if that's what it was. No, I know we did do the conduit project on the weekend because I had the crew available, so. But I'll clarify which one it is and
Okay.
I'll let you guys know.
Okay, thank you.
That it?
That's all I have.
That's all, Mario?
Yep.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the operator's report?
Move we accept the report.
Second?
Second.
All right,
Give me
all
a
in
sign
favor?
sheet on it,
Aye.
then I can sign it. Hey, good, sir, can I get you to sign in?
Yes. Okay, so that's the operator's report. I'm gonna go ahead and do the engineer's report also.
What'd you do, you rain?
Man, it's starting to come down too. Alrighty, guys, the first item is the permits, nothing new to report there. We are tracking that water plant #1 water well, the testing coming up in January, so you'll probably see that later this year to get ahead of the curve. If you remember, we kept that well open, it's not plugged, we just pulled the pump, so we're required every 5 years to test it and make sure that no contamination's got into it or anything like that.
Okay?
And nothing's going back into the hole. Moving on to the joint projects. We did receive some revised paperwork from FEMA. We anticipate the funds being awarded in the near future. I really hope that it's done by June. I talked to TDM, which is the grant management company, and they said that a bunch of stuff was getting cut loose. So I'm hoping next meeting I can say, hey, we're ready to move forward with this project. E-Stitch maintenance, contractor to mobilize in the beginning of May. For the wastewater treatment plant, the construction is still going. The contractor has finished the asphalt overlay. It's nice and smooth up there, and you can actually kind of drive around the plant. and we're just waiting for the generator to be delivered at this point. Moving on to the district projects, sanitary sewer rehab phase 2, substantially complete, no pay application this month. Charleston Park Irrigation, the contractor has 6 of the 10 controllers working. Apparently 4 of them have some issues, they were damaged by the power surge. And so they're checking them and seeing what needs to be replaced to get them up and running, but they did get 6 of them online, so.
Are these new controllers or the ones that were there?
They were already there, they've been there the entire time.
Can we hold our feet in the fire and get this finished in the next 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
because it's almost summer.
Yep.
so. Okay.
Absolutely. Plantation Village drainage, that construction is substantially complete. We have pay application number 1 and final in the amount of $35,314 that we recommend payment that Tiffany talked about. We wrapped up the paperwork for the FEMA public assistance for that $24,000, so we should be seeing that money in the near future as well. We'll just see how fast the government moves, but we did do all the closeout paperwork and everything, so we should be seeing that. For bond application number 10, nothing new to report there, but we should be seeing that approval letter in the next couple of days, honestly. We're coming up against the 45-day window that it was submitted under. Sanitary sewer sinkholes, that construction, I actually drove by the project, is almost complete. They've got a couple of touch-up works to do, and then they'll be done. For the 703 Fairway Oaks storm sewer, we received emergency approval from the TCEQ, so we have a solicited bid for the amount of $217,405 from ICS. I have the contract for signature, and the contractor is working on mobilizing. Nothing new on the 726 Stonewall Jackson. That one's going to our list for storm sewer phase 2 rehabilitation. Cornerstone Church waterline extension. We have begun work on the project, coordinating with the church. We're finalizing the proposal tap connection and related engineering costs. So if you guys remember, because it's a non-taxable entity, what we do is essentially charge them the entire cost of extending the line to them and everything like that, because we know we'll never recoup the costs in taxes, essentially. For the Mosswood Ditch rehab, these are 2 new projects. Since we're right here staring down the bond app being approved and everything, I'm asking to kind of kick these projects off, start moving forward. You guys won't see a bill until we get the money in from the thing, but it just kind of gives my team a chance to get ahead of the project and start working to set everything up. So I'm asking for authorization to move forward with the Mosswood Ditch rehab project and the Storm Sewer Phase 2 rehab project. And that's all I have on my report. You guys have any questions?
What about the mess on the golf course?
That's the one, that's the 703 703 Fairway Oaks one?
That's Fairway Oaks?
Yeah,
It's really Fairway Estates.
Fairway Estates.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, that's that one. The contractor's getting ready to mobilize, so we should see him out there in the next week or 2.
That's Fairway Estates. Make sure we get that right.
Yeah,
Minutes.
I'll correct that, sorry about that. They're right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 703 Fairway Oaks.
A physical address.
The
Fairway
physical.
Oaks is on the other side. Fairway Estates is close to that. I know it goes all the way across to Fairway Oaks.
Well, the sinkhole's right there on the cart path, right there, right behind Fairway Oaks, 703 Fairway Oaks.
That's Fairway Estates.
Oaks is the circle, isn't that the cul-de-sac? Fairway Oaks, isn't that the cul-de-sac?
I'm thinking of
Yes.
Roseman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, very nice
Fairway
house
Oaks
on the
is
right-hand
cul-de-sac.
side.
Fairway Estates is the boulevard that goes in.
Fairway Estates is the subdivision, Fairway Oaks is the street.
Okay,
You're right.
there we go.
We'll crack the code. Too many fairways.
Okay.
About 18 of them.
I can't find the fairway.
Okay. All right,
You were holding on to that one.
Lauren, you wanna go ahead?
Happy to. Nice to see you guys. I guess Carl and Mark, pretty sure you guys, this will be your first presentation of a preliminary official statement. So obviously, I'm not gonna go through every page here, but don't hesitate to stop me at any time. Happy to answer any questions tonight, and feel free to call me, email me, at any point in the next couple weeks if something occurs to you later on. So, the way I like to present this is, I really think of this as 2 different documents, okay? The first document, which is the smaller of the 2, is the notice of sale. And due to state law and the fact that you're required, the method that you're required to use to sell these bonds is referred to as a competitive method of sale, which means that we're not gonna know who the underwriter is before noon on May 22nd. This notice of sale provides the instructions on how to submit a bid, when to submit a bid, where to submit a bid, provides the instructions. And let me just call back to Taylor here real quick. You know, obviously, this timeline that we're looking at, and I'll mention the closing date in a minute, is obviously entirely predicated upon the idea that we do in fact receive the TCEQ order and memo here. It doesn't have to be in the next couple days, but probably in the next week to 10 days. So if it gets, so let me explain the timeline a little bit. This is a preliminary official statement. This is in fact a draft. And this is not even the final preliminary official statement. We will print and publish, put out on the street, the final preliminary official statement approximately 10 days before May 22nd. And so we would need that order and memo, you know, some period of time before then. It's not the end of the world if this does in fact get delayed, if for whatever reason, you know, I don't think anybody's aware of anything coming from the TCEQ, but if there is a delay and we're talking about pricing in June and closing in July instead of pricing in May and closing in June, or even a couple months, that'd be fine. But just so you guys kind of understand the milestones, okay? So
and I'll just, if I can add quickly, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Warren. This because the 45-day period expires in the next 3 days. What we wanted to do was avoid delaying everything an entire month. These are all rehabilitation projects and repair projects that will be funded from the proceeds of these bonds, and so we really don't expect any issues with TC2 approval. It's more of a question of when, not if that makes sense.
they ask me to predict the future every day, but Davis seems to know, so. I'm flipping here to.
I'll call him back if I have to.
To Roman numeral 2. So much of the information in this document is repeated over and over and over again. There in the middle of the page, and I always look at Tiffany at this moment, you can see the first interest payment for these bonds will be March 1st of 2026. This is also the first appearance of the Bank of New York Mellon as your paying agent and registrar. Below that you can see the amortization schedule, and there's a table that I'm going to touch on later which kind of shows the reason that this is being structured in this way, but this matches exactly with the application that was sent to the TCEQ. And another piece of information on this page at the bottom, in that bottom paragraph that starts with the bonds maturing on and after September 1st of 2031, that's the first appearance of the call date. So there are callable and non-callable bonds. And so these first 4 maturities, the 120,000, the 130,000, the 145, and the 150,000, those are your non-callable maturities. On September,
Does that mean they're automatically?
cannot be called, cannot be refunded. On September 1st of 2030, and maybe, sorry Davis, maybe Davis knows what interest rates will be like on September 1st of 2030. But if interest rates are significantly lower on September 1st of 2030 than they were on May 22nd of 2025, then the district will have the opportunity to refund all of those other maturities, all of the callable maturities, and realize interest rate savings. So that's the first appearance of the call date there. And the call date will be repeated many, many times. I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you guys on the following page. This is the first appearance of the language about municipal bond insurance and ratings. So as you may know, the district sold 2 series of bonds in 2022. Both of those series were non-rated, but both of those series qualified for and the underwriter elected to use the insurance. Okay, there are 2 insurance companies that insure municipal bonds. One is called Build America Mutual, and the other one is called Assured Guarantee. And I think both of yours were with Build America Mutual. I know one of them, I can look, but I know one of them for sure. I think they were both with Build America Mutual. I'm going to come back to this in a few pages, but I think that the district is in the district continues, and I'll illustrate this later. The district's financial position continues to improve, all right? In 2022, you guys had no debt outstanding. You know, you didn't really have a debt payment track record. We were a few years closer to Hurricane Harvey. Now you guys have demonstrated your ability to make your debt service payments for several years here, you know, twice a year. And again, and I'll point all of these things, you know, I'll put my rating analyst hat on and pretend that I'm a rating analyst and point to all these things why I think that you guys would achieve an investment grade rating. So just to run through that pretty quickly, you know, you start at AAA, you go to AA, you go to single A, below that is triple B, and within each of these categories there's like a plus, minus, and flat. So triple B plus, triple B flat, triple B minus. Triple B minus is the lowest investment grade rating. Okay. Below triple B minus is double B plus. That is referred to as non-investment grade or junk bonds. And the district would get a better interest rate if you were to go to market non-rated, as you did with both of your Series 2022 bonds, non-rated. You would be better off with non-rated versus double B plus. But I think you guys would be good enough to get triple B minus. So what I propose to do, and Davis, I'm going to have to ask you a question here. I've brought with me applications. Moody's Rating Service has a process that they call the indicative rating process, where they basically provide a private rating first. You know, if we just asked them for a public rating and they gave us double B plus, I believe that we would be obligated to make that public and even include it in the document. But by going through the indicative rating process where we request the private rating first, they can, there's no guarantees, there's no promises, but they give us their indicative rating. And then at that point, we make the decision if we want to go public with potentially a triple B minus, or if we don't want to go public and just stop the process there at double B plus.
So we'd have an option.
Right.
We wouldn't have to publish.
It's the best way to try and get a preview without, because again, we don't know the future, we can't predict the future, you know, and nothing is certain. And what we want to avoid is asking Moody's for a rating. Moody's says double B plus, and now we're printing a double B plus rating. So, Davis, what I wanted to ask you, and we can get Julie to sign this another time, but is it possible that we could get Vice President to sign this application tonight?
Yes, that's fine as part of
Okay.
the preliminary official statement.
Tim, you're the Vice President?
Yes.
And I need to make another comment. So this is bureaucracy in paper, right? So there's an indicative rating process, and so therefore there is an indicative rating application. Moody's is going to require that we do a second application for the real rating, assuming we get there. And so, Tim, I'm happy to ask Julie to sign it later or you to sign it later, or with your permission, and as long as Davis doesn't object, what we normally do in these situations is we'll use your signature page for both applications. Is that okay with you, Davis?
As long as Tim is comfortable with it, I'm fine with that.
I'm good.
I'll just add that requesting these indicative ratings is a common practice for districts such as this one that are in improving financial position, and obviously we rely on Lauren, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so I will continue on now. Like I say, stop me at any time, but I'm going to flip forward here a few pages. Let's see, Roman numeral at 5. This is the first appearance of the good faith deposit. So all underwriters, again, we're in the instructions on how to submit a bid, right? So any underwriter that wants to submit a bid must submit this good faith deposit. I'll be bringing this check with me on May 22nd to hand to Davis if a representative from your firm will be here, or else I guess we'll mail it to you. But this is equal to 2% of the par amount. Never seen this happen. I bet Davis has never seen this happen, where an underwriter who submits the winning bid on pricing day then fails to close on closing day. But if that were to happen, they would forfeit the good faith check. That's the purpose of the good faith check. So it'd be a pain in our neck, we'd have to go through the whole process again, reprint, re-advertise, reprice, et cetera, answer 1,000 questions. And we could all debate if that's worth the $161,000, but that's what the good faith check is. Something else that I'm gonna be bringing with me on May 22nd is a couple copies of this official bid form. Of course, you got a lot of blanks here. I mean, there's a lot of blanks throughout this document. Again, it's a draft and it's preliminary.
What page is that?
There's
Keep
not a
going.
There's not a page.
Yeah, there is no page number.
Yeah, dated May 22, right?
Yep.
On the top. Official bid
Behind
form.
Schedule A.
There you go.
There you go. It's behind Schedule A. So once we receive all the underwriters will submit this signed to us, and then I'll bring the one from the winning underwriter with all of their interest rates and the rest of these blanks filled in. Following page has term bonds if there are any. So just so that you know what I'll be bringing on May 22nd for signature from President and Secretary. And that's pretty much it on the notice of sale. Questions there before I go to the preliminary official statement?
So you said you were gonna talk about the insurance, you said that they use the insurance?
It is up to the underwriter to decide. So
When you say use, I mean purchase?
Pay the
or
premium.
actually get a claim, make a claim?
no, the underwriter would pay the premium. So because your district, your credit, qualified for the insurance both times in 2022, I'm reasonably confident that it will qualify again. So both insurance companies are gonna quote a premium. They don't quote it to me, I don't know what it is. I can only see if the insurance is used, I can see, and you guys will see that as well, what the premium that they quoted was. But it is the decision of all of the underwriters, and maybe some underwriters choose to use it, maybe some don't, but it is their decision as to whether they want to pay the premium to sell the bonds as insured.
And insured, meaning if we default on paying it back?
That's exactly right.
So it's like mortgage insurance?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, recently here, I've had a couple AA districts and a couple single A districts where the insurance was used. But of course, as you get the higher, what's referred to as the underlying rating, the likelihood that the insurance is used decreases. I don't know that I've ever had a BBB minus district where the insurance was not used. That would have been, maybe I have, but that would have been a strange case. And I'm not trying to confuse you guys. BBB minus is easier to understand. Moody's uses this weird thing where it's like Baa3. So Baa3 is the equivalent of BBB minus.
Okay.
So this begins the preliminary official statement here. Of course, a lot of information on here again. Repeat of the Bank of New York Mellon as your paying agent as registrar. First interest payment of March 1st, 2026. First call date of September 1, 2030. And then at the bottom you can see the closing date we have here, June 25th of 2025. Table of contents, and then on page 7, we start the official statement summary. This is a summary of most of, not all of the sections that follow. This is also the first appearance of the use of proceeds for these bonds there at the very bottom of the page. Station 1 generator addition, lift station 2 MCC replacement, lift station 3 rehab, etc. We will be using capitalized interest for these bonds, and that purpose for that is to decrease the upward pressure on your tax rate in the short term.
So we're limited to, and I know the answer to this, but the use of proceeds, we're limited to what is exactly printed on here.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about surplus funds application, but what's listed here, it matches what was included in the application that went to the TCEQ.
Right. Okay.
Page 10 is the first appearance of discussion on development in the district. Obviously, you know, anything you guys see here that you know for sure is wrong, please point it out today or later before we print, ideally. 973 completed single-family homes, 8 tennis courts. I think I was listening to those right before the meeting started. 148 acres of undeveloped land. 169 acres within the regulatory floodway, etc. Then the following page is probably one of the most important pages in the document. You know, anybody who buys municipal bonds will certainly spend some time reviewing this. And this has, I'll talk about Moody's a lot on this page as well. So we've got your January 1st, 2024 taxable assessed value of $231.6 million. Just to call back to August, and I'm sure you guys remember me crystal clear in August. You know, when we get your taxable assessed value, there is you may remember me saying there's a certified portion and then there's an uncertified portion. And we always take a percentage of the uncertified portion. And 90% is kind of the most common amount, and that's what we did in River Plantation. And so, looking at that, looking at August, using 90% of the uncertified value, that was $234.8 million. So, you know, we may use a slightly smaller percentage than 90% this year, just because, you know, different districts behave differently for all kinds of different reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean anything good or bad. But I did want to point out that it seems like your taxable assessed value January 1st of 2024 is less than what we thought. A little bit less than what we thought in August as we made that estimation. The last time, but having said that, the last time we printed the document, we had an estimated value as of December 1st, 2021, that was only $173 million. So, you know, anybody who's really paying attention will see that this district has grown a lot, you know, substantially in the past couple of years.
What does that number represent?
That is the taxable assessed, so these bonds.
Taxable value of
the district.
the bud. Okay.
These bonds are supported by property taxes, right, which are levied against the taxable assessed value of the district. So it's a very important number. Coincidentally, I was on the phone with Moody's today for a different district, and this is a coincidence, they were delivering an indicative rating of Baa3 for a different district. And as part of, they were talking about the strengths and weaknesses of this other district, and as a part of that conversation, I asked them, what is the median Baa3 taxable assessed value for all of the Baa3 districts that Moody's rates, which is, I don't know, 50 or more. And guess what, guys? It happens to be $232 million, so I think that's kind of funny. Below that, there's the direct debt. Below that is the estimated overlapping debt, $11.7 million. Of course, residents of your district do not only pay their property taxes to the MUD, they also pay to Montgomery County, Conroe ISD, etc. So that is the overlapping debt, and then below that is the direct plus the overlapping, and then below that are your ratios, right? This is something that Moody's will definitely look at, and I can tell you that these ratios are strong. The direct debt ratio in single digits, that is strong. You know, to me, that definitely says Baa3. Another point I wanted to make, again, calling back to the last time you guys printed and went to market. You know, your general fund balance was less than $1 million. It was only $917,000. So the increase that you see here, and this is of course as of March 27th, to 1.4 million. This is illustrating, you know, the continued strength, the continued financial health of your district. And I think that will make a strong impression on Moody's as well. I do want to talk, still on this page, you can see, of course, that the district currently has a debt service tax rate of 25 cents. And you may remember, I think it was a presentation that I was making in September, where we were making this decision about issuing 5 million versus 8 million. And you may remember I was discussing the increased number of pennies that would be required in either scenario, okay? At the bottom of the page, and don't put too much emphasis on this, these are always kind of conservative, but at the bottom of the page you can see potential debt service tax rates that might be needed for issuing the full 8,050,000. So I'm sure we discussed this in September, and I did notice that your fiscal 2026 budget has less annual expenditures than fiscal 2025. That's great. Obviously, as many pennies as we can move from your maintenance and operations tax rate to debt service is a penny that we do not need to increase in the aggregate, if that makes sense. So as much as we can, you know, I don't want to be greedy here, but if we can even further reduce the annual expenditures in fiscal 2026, that will help.
I'll try my best.
You need to go back to page 10.
Page 10, yes, sir.
Development of the district. That first paragraph there.
Yeah,
It doesn't look right to me.
okay.
Yeah, neighborhood parks, yes. The district contained single-family homes, yes. The River Plantation County Club,
Oh, yeah, country, right?
okay, but it is not a country club.
Uh-huh.
It is a public golf course,
So, the River Plantation Public Golf Course?
yes.
Okay.
Isn't that its official name though? Isn't it the country club?
I don't know.
They
But
changed the
it's not
sign.
a country club. And then
They
if we
changed the
go a little
sign.
further here, the county club again, facilities include a swimming pool, it does not.
Okay.
That is now owned by the
By the MUD.
oh yeah, we own it.
We own it, but we've leased it.
We leased it.
Yep.
Locker room, pro shop, yes, that's right. In addition, the club operates a second swimming pool, no, they don't have any swimming pools. They have
Correct.
tennis courts.
Is there a second swimming pool?
Yes, but that was turned over to the HOA.
So the MUD owns one and the HOA owns the other.
Yes.
Yes, the HOA owns the tennis courts also.
Okay.
And then it says the club facilities are member owned, they're not, they're owned by a private individual.
Well, I'm sure Davis will help us out there.
Happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
The remaining acreage also includes the green space. Of the 148 acres, 73 acres of it is our green space, Charleston,
Okay,
which belongs to the MUD.
got it. Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, guys, just a couple more things that I want to highlight, and again, anything else that you see, feel free to shout it out. The next several pages, starting on page 13, is a lot of the words and boilerplate that I don't usually, that's kind of more Davis's domain. You know, I'm the numbers guy, I like to look at the numbers. Your names all appear on page 22. And then page 30 is that overlapping debt table. You can see Conroe ISD has borrowed $2.5 billion, of which this MUD district is responsible for $10.5 million. That's obviously the majority of the overlapping debt coming from the ISD, which is almost always the case. And then page 31 is an illustration. There on the left, you see the column that says current total debt service. So that is the district's current total debt service. And then to the right of that is the those are the principal amounts, those won't change. To the right of that is the estimated interest amounts. And you can see why this debt is basically backloaded. The majority of the principal is in the final 2 years. If you look at the column on the far right, you can see why we're doing it that way. It's to keep a level debt service in the aggregate. And if we were to accelerate some of that principal and amortize some of that principal earlier than 2053 and 2054, that would put more upward pressure on your debt service tax rate in the short term. So this is designed to try to make it easiest on your tax rate overall. I do want to make a comment. You know, we submitted this application whenever we submitted this application and did our best to estimate the interest rate, and we estimated at 5 1/4, and I think that that was a good estimate at that time. I think that was a conservative estimate at that time. I'm sure you guys have seen the equity markets recently, and some of you may have been following the treasury markets. I'd be surprised if you guys were following my index, which is the municipal market data, the federally tax exempt index. But that has gone up a crazy amount. It's kind of bounced around a lot, but it's mostly gone up in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It went up 85 basis points in 3 days, which is, I spoke to an underwriter during that time, and he was talking about liquidity problems, difficulty selling the bonds. He said he compared it to COVID. That's what he said. So all of that to say, I think if you guys were literally selling today, you're not, but if you were literally selling today, I think you guys would be close to 5 1/4, and maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below. Where are we going to be on May 22nd? Of course, I don't know.
It's a
And if
yo-yo right now.
yeah, and if you do sell above 5 1/4, that's not the end of the world. There are things that we can do, and Davis has special magic tricks. But I just want you to be aware of kind of where we are, and it's possible that we may be above 5 1/4 on May 22nd.
So are these rates on the debt service requirement schedule based on 5 1/4?
That's right. Yeah, you see that at the very bottom, that little asterisk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I was reading some of this last night, and one of the things I noticed is.
This is, so you know, this is a slightly different version. There's a couple changes, but go ahead.
Okay, well, it was on the front side of this thing, on the body of it. And one of the things it said, and it makes sense, but it said that whoever wins the bid buys all the bonds. In other words, they don't just get first shot at them, they buy all the bonds.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna have one underwriter, whoever is the winning underwriter. Another thing that Moody's will look at is on page 34. This is your tax rate, taxpayer concentration. So you can imagine, you know, there are districts out there that are residential like yours. There are districts that are kind of residential and commercial. There are districts that have no residential, right? And so a lot of times those districts will have higher taxpayer concentration. Why do we look at the top 10? I don't know. We've got 10 fingers, but that's what we do. So we look at the top 10 taxpayers, right? And so you can imagine there are plenty of districts out there where the top 10 taxpayers comprise 50%, maybe higher, of the total taxable assessed value. And so Moody's and also bond investors, you know, they'll start to get nervous and they'll say, well, who are these top 10 taxpayers? And you know, your number 2 taxpayer comprises 15% of your taxable assessed value, and it's an oil and gas company, and if that oil and gas company goes away like that, you're gonna lose 15% of your taxable assessed value overnight. That's a big problem, right? So, all of that to say, you guys at 4.63%, that is strong. That says Baa3 to me. I know you guys aren't gonna hold me to this. I'm not a rating analyst, but I'm just giving you my best.
Oh, we got it on video.
Yep, and recorded.
And recorded.
Okay, let's see here. I did want to point out on page 38 and 39, this is something you guys talk about every year. Are you a developed district or a developing district? You should see at the top of page 39 the last sentence of that first paragraph for the 2024 tax rate year. A determination was made by the Board of Directors that the district is a developing district. On the following page, I know that Taylor's gonna review this whole thing carefully, but I know that he's gonna take a special look at the section called the system. And then on page 41 begins what's sometimes referred to as risk factors. Here we're calling it investment considerations, where we do our best to tell potential bondholders all kinds of things that could go wrong. Like, for example, on page 42, the national economy, liquidity in the financial markets. Page 46 has extreme weather events, of course. Here, you know, all districts have kind of non-boilerplate language. This is the same language that appeared in both of your 2022 documents. According, you look kind of in the middle of that paragraph at the bottom, according to the district's general manager, 330 homes were affected during Hurricane Harvey. Additional flooding of residential homes has occurred during 2008, 2016, and 2017 storm events, which got me thinking, and I haven't had a chance to ask. I don't remember if there was flooding in Beryl or something more recent than 2017, so we'll need to update that. I'll ask Taylor to send that comment in. I appreciate, just two more things, guys. I appreciate on page 47 the fact that the 2025 legislative session is a risk factor. It could be a problem. And the last thing I'll mention starts on page 52. This is something else that you guys review every year. You may recall, you know, these are public securities, and so you enter into several covenants with your bondholders, such as we promise not to default and we promise to pay on time, and et cetera, et cetera. You also enter into a continuing disclosure undertaking, whereby you promise to make public every year your audit and also additional operating data. And so here in this document, once again, you are telling potential bondholders that you will enter into a continuing disclosure undertaking for this series of bonds as well. Davis, I'll let you take it from here, but if there are any questions, let me know.
No, really, I'll just remind everyone, and for those who haven't heard it before, this is a three-step process, right? So, as Lauren mentioned today, we authorized the publication of the preliminary official statement. And then, assuming everything goes as planned, Lauren will be back next month with bids on the bonds, and at that time, we will take action to actually sell the bonds, assuming that there is, you know, a good and acceptable bid, and we expect that to be the case. And then we will close the sale, again, assuming everything goes as planned next month, about 30 days following the next board meeting. So we are about 60 days away at the earliest from having cash in hand to fund the projects. So, any questions?
No, it sounds good.
Okay. So today, the action that needs to be taken to move forward is to approve the preliminary official statement and notice of sale, and to authorize their publication in advance of the sale.
It's a mouthful. All right, who wants to make the motion? Didn't remember.
You can say approve the POS and NOS and authorize publication.
POS and NOS.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the POS and the NOS and, we just lost it.
Authorize publication.
And authorize publication. We thought we lost you because we lost the view, but you're
There you
still
are.
there. There you are.
Yeah, second.
All right. You seconded it.
Yeah.
You seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It's a go.
This is a program.
All right,
Let AI write it next time.
next thing we got is, park maintenance matters. I know there's some issues that we've got with the park. A couple things I wanna bring up. I know we've got some signs missing. The, signs that give instructions on how to behave and the rules for operating in the park area. I know of at least 2 signs, I think there's 3, but I know of 2 on Shiloh.
I don't know about.
You know of any others?
No, that's the only two I know of.
Mark, you know of any?
No, sir.
Carl?
I've seen at least 2, I know that, but I don't
Okay.
know where I don't know where they are.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we replace those signs and maybe get 1 extra, just as a spare, so that we've got it. So I make
Do
that
we know-
motion.
Do we know who made them?
I don't.
If,
There's nobody
if they're
alive
not
down there.
that costly, maybe we should just go ahead and have 2 extra. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I agree with that, but
I
Mario,
think
did
the
you
only
guys
two
make the
is on
signs?
Shiloh. We have a sign company, I could go by and take a picture and they could probably replicate it, that's fine.
Okay, there is a typo in it that we need to correct.
The thing about smoking on there, you gotta get rid of that.
You think?
I can't smoke a cigar when I'm walking.
I know. Hey, if I can't have cigars anymore, nobody can.
If
Just as
you,
long as it's not lit, Mark.
If you
just
pull
chew
up
on
the,
it.
if you pull it up off of the website, the
Yeah.
spelling has been corrected, I think.
Okay. I'll take a look, take a picture and then send it to the sign company.
Okay, good. So if you get us a price, we'll determine whether we wanna get 3 or 4.
Got it.
Do these signs say no golf? Do
There's an
Yes.
additional sign below it that says no golf.
we wanna make the new ones to just say that, so that we?
I'm not sure we got enough room for another line. I think that's why
For another what?
for another line.
Yeah, but I'd have to look at the one on the website, but I think in the one on the website, it's incorporated in it. Yeah, I believe it is, but I'd have to look.
Okay?
This one sign would be cheaper than 2, right?
Are these the
Well, I
same
agree.
signs that have the QR code?
Yeah, scan the QR code, it'll pull it right up for
Got
you.
it, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then, another thing I wanted to bring up was the, dog poop stations. They seem to have been very successful.
Yeah, they're full of poop.
And, yeah, they are. And, I wanted to suggest that maybe we bring in 2 more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, it was a trial, we figured it was gonna be successful, but since it has proven,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm in favor of doing that.
okay,
I'll
okay.
be happy to.
Here, our installation cost was $285, I think it was. Is that per, or is that for both of them?
For volume for both of them.
Both of them? Yeah, the way it's written, it looks like it was 1,600, I like to have lost it.
Yeah, no, and then I just looked at it too, and what I think what it was, when we started throughout the day and did them both the same day, we had a lot of walking traffic that day,
Yeah.
so we kinda stayed there until the cement dried, and then came back the next day and pulled the forms, or a couple days later and pulled the forms, so, cause we actually concreted them in and stuff, so.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what that was as far as the overtime on
Well, you got a motion,
we have a motion for 2 more,
you made it.
okay? Who seconds?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question, Mr. Mark, do you wanna order them again?
Yes, I was fixing to volunteer to do that, I'd be
Okay,
happy to.
if we can order them, and as soon as you get them, let me know where you want them, and we're gonna install.
Okay?
That'll go good on.
And then, another thing I wanted to bring up was the pond. I'd really like to, I don't know who's gonna do it, but we really need to get that fountain reestablished for the pond. And, Mario, I don't know if you've got sourcing on that, to get a fountain and a light and get it installed. But, if you've got sourcing, I can contact them and get some bids to see what it's gonna cost.
You wanna get one that's got the metal blades and.
I know, we gotta get one that's got the grinder on it.
Yeah.
I'll send you a phone number of the contractor that we
Okay,
used. You can,
okay,
if you need.
very good.
So we still have the concern of the water level though, right? If he drops down, cause it's not continuously fed, right?
Yeah, but it's held up
Did-
pretty good.
This year's been
I didn't know if they
alright.
would make a float or something that would turn it
Oh,
off
I'm
if it
sure they
did get
would.
low during the middle of the summer in the heat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We can also talk about sourcing water if we want from the sprinkler system.
Irrigation.
The irrigation system.
Okay,
Putting a valve on there or something like that.
good.
I think right now we're gonna be okay, but.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
After tonight, we'll be all right.
Yeah, we can keep that in mind.
Okay.
This Chris guy has
Tim?
something to say.
Yes?
Quick question, or, what's the chance of getting pedestrian crosswalks? I know
That's
people
up to
wanna
the
pay
city.
them, but I mean,
Yeah,
talk to the
that's up to the
city.
county.
I mean, talk to the county and see if,
Yeah.
you know, crossing RP Drive a couple times and, maybe, Braxton Bragg and Stonewall. Probably wouldn't need them on Braxton Bragg, but Stonewall, where you cross there, which, yeah, Stonewall.
That's up to the county.
Okay, I just,
Yeah.
if y'all ask them, maybe they'll do it.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more stroke with the county than maybe anybody else here. I've asked Charlie Riley for some stuff and it just doesn't get done. I know there's been people that have asked for a right turn lane at the entrance of RP, and Charlie won't do it.
Says it's not
He
his.
says it's not his and that there's not enough accidents that have happened there to justify getting a right turn only lane. So,
Just
I
need
hear
more-
you.
We just
And we
need more
we should have a
access.
crosswalk at Braxton Bragg, I agree with that one, because that seems to be a natural lead into the cart path and the waste station. There's no one over there?
I'm thinking more across RP Drive,
Correct.
from the
Yeah.
tank across the street,
Major roadways.
and then maybe one near the bridge, and then one on Stonewall Jackson.
Well, on Stonewall Jackson, I agree, I think
It's
there's
nothing
people
but
in there,
paint, right?
a golf cart with a kid
Yeah.
driving it, pulled out there the other day, in a car, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
He
He
might
did
do
not, he never
that.
stopped.
You want to do it?
He
You and me?
might- He might do
We
that.
can get a paintbrush and go out there and do it?
Oh, Charlie might do it. He might have.
All right,
He's
we'll see about that. All right, so Keith's gonna get with me on the pond. Anybody else have any park matters?
No.
Okay,
Once you finish with the park, I did wanna go back to the engineer's report. It seems like we might have to authorize something, right?
Yes.
So that we need to vote on that, right?
Yeah, if you guys don't.
So I didn't wanna close out our meeting without doing that.
thank you.
It's the gentleman that came in late, is he the one that had the kids?
Yeah, not yet,
Yeah,
not yet.
okay.
Yeah, if you guys would just authorize that pay application and then get started on the work for Mosswood and the storm sewer phase 2 rehab.
Say that again?
If you guys can authorize that pay application and the authorization to get started on the work for Mosswood ditch and the storm sewer rehab.
Right.
I need y'all's authorization on those.
Make a motion.
I wasn't aware of this other, but I knew we had the Mosswood, so I make a motion, that we approve the Mosswood ditch rehabilitation. What was the other one?
The storm sewer rehab phase 2.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the storm, I said, phase 2 of the storm sewer rehabilitation. Make a motion that we approve both of those.
Nice second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Coming up here, this facility is not ADA
Okay,
approved
here.
because the fence is here and nobody can park in the parks, spots over there that were for people that either were in wheelchairs or would come up and needed assistance, cause it isn't straight. You can't get up there.
Okay. Noted. All right, number 9, violation of district rules, public hearing for violation of district rules and damage to district property, assessment of penalties. Is that you, Paul?
Yes, sir. I think if we could just show for purpose of the minutes at 7:40, the convening of a hearing. We have 2 violation matters on the agenda tonight. I'm gonna ask the board, and it's obviously always the board's discretion. I'm gonna ask that we pass one of them, because we've not heard from the gentleman yet. We're still trying to track him down. and that is for an incident that involves a car accident that happened on RP Drive, I think it was close to the bridge. Tim, you provided me some of these details. And there was a fair amount of damage done to the park, and so we've notified them, but we haven't heard back, and I'd like to defer that one to next month, to try to actually make contact and see what they're gonna do about it. We have a second one, and this involves 673 Ravensworth. This is a matter where one or more children were using a golf cart. You're allowed to take golf carts on the cart paths in the park, but per your rules, you can't be a child, and you certainly aren't allowed to take it off the cart path. And unfortunately, one or more children did so and caused some damage to the park. And so we have notified them of this situation. I'm happy to report that Mr. Chris Horsley is there, and I think he wants to address the board about it. And then, but before I turn it over to Mr. Horsley, I want to say a few more things. I'll tell you a little bit more about what happened, in case not everybody knows. But also, obviously, we should go into executive session to talk about how the board wants to handle it, and then come back out in open session and make a ruling. But the matter's sort of straightforward. Again, it's 673 Ravensworth. There's some hill and an old tee, green back there and stuff, and maybe a tee box or something. And the kids were riding around on the golf carts, did some damage. So we have sent a letter, like normal muni ops, sent your violation notice. They asked for a little over $1,800 for repairs and to cover the costs of enforcement. And Mr. Horsley and I spoke in the interim and had a pleasant conversation. I think he's a little worried about that. It seems high to him. And he's assured, at least me, that his son is never going to do that again, hasn't done it again to his knowledge. But there was some damage there and some enforcement related to it. And the board has taken a pretty strong position in the past that if you mess up a park or some other facility, you got to fix it. We had a kid that took his dad's car and did donuts in your parking lot out there, and they had to fix it. And it's so uniform application of policy requires something, but with the board, we can talk about that in executive, see how the board wants to handle it. But unless the board has questions, do you have any questions of me so far?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, so what I'll do, I've not met Mr. Horsley, and I'm only seeing the back of the audience's head, so I apologize to sound a little odd here. But Mr. Horsley, would you please stand up, introduce yourself to the board, and
Yes.
share what it is you'd like to discuss tonight?
Yeah, come on up here to the podium.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. So my name's Chris. I live at 673 Ravensworth. We have a park that butts up right into the back of our neighborhood. The dog poop things, this has nothing to do with this, but awesome. The kids back there play all the time. They made a huge difference. We happen to have one right behind where I'm talking about. Makes a huge difference. But anyway, so the kids are back there playing all the time. The kids were out there on the golf cart. They were riding around. It was muddy. It made some tracks in there. One of the ladies that lives across the way came and kind of got onto them, whatever else. So they came back. I assume that's what this is about. The date on here is not the same. It says a vehicle, but it can't be this Tuesday. But I assume that's what it's about. Anyway, so we made some tracks out there. So we kind of got onto him, obviously, myself and my fiance, and had him on Saturday before his football game go out there, rake the couple like the tracks that he had made, basically kind of rutted into it. Rake that stuff down, planted some seed, and then also because the kids always play baseball and football and whatever else in the park, they're constantly out there. Had them go around because they've complained of ants or whatever. They're not playing ball or whatever else. When I asked them, why are you not throwing the ball? Ants. Had them go out there and put ant bed stuff in all the ant beds out there and whatever else. I had no idea that any of this was going to become of that. Now, fast forward a month from now, I did go there and kind of take some pictures yesterday, and you guys can take these and pass them around. In my opinion, there's no evidence anymore of what he's done, and he has learned his lesson. I can assure you guys he's not going to be out there anymore. And any of the kids, for that matter, riding any kind of motor, anything, back there in that, because I mean, $1,800 is crazy. You see, I'm a mechanic, I'm trying to make ends meet, and that's the stuff I want to talk about.
No worries.
But I was going to make notes and like try and make some kind of presentation or whatever else, but I decided just to come up here and talk to you guys and be, look, I mean, the kid made a mistake. $1,850 is like crazy. It's not gonna punish him, it's gonna punish me. And I just wanna come and show you guys the pictures that I took. These are a couple days ago. I actually have a, like, almost minute video of me walking around the park, this morning, if you guys would like to look at it, and that way you know that you can see every kind of area out there. But in my opinion, he's kinda corrected it, and I'm not saying that what he did is right, by no means is it, and I had no idea you couldn't ride the golf cart through there. But he won't do it anymore. If we wanna punish him, like, you know, let's punish him. Let's make him pick up dog poop. Let's make him do something to make the park better. Let's make him, you know, go around and pick up trash. But $1,850 doesn't do anything but punish me and not punish him. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Horsley?
No, we appreciate you coming and speaking to us. about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just, the only thing I'll say, because we've had varying results with these, incidents, Mr. Horsley did call right away, as soon as he got the letter. We had a very, you know, we've had people that wanna tell us how it's all our fault, be very aggressive, that it's not what happened at all. So I'm happy he's here to share his side. What I would suggest is we, suspend the hearing at this point. I don't think there's any other agenda items, and go ahead and go to executive to talk about this and a couple other items, and then come back out to, make any decisions the board might want to make.
I agree. So,
Okay, yeah.
at this point, we'll break and go to executive session.
We can hear you.
It's all good.
All
I'm
right.
usually pretty loud.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, well, does the board have any, action items they'd like to propose, in response to the, I guess what we'll do, to say it officially, we'll come back into the,
Right.
Oh, yeah, we're coming out of executive session at,
Yeah.
8:14. And, we discussed,
Well, yeah,
damages.
don't say just as if there's any action items related to.
Are there any action items from the executive session?
Yes, I make a motion that we assess a fine of $450 for the damage that was done to the park. And the reason, just so you know, one of the reasons that we come up with that is there's a cost to the district in processing this, including lawyers and time and all that. So
Sure.
we certainly reduced it from the $1,800, mostly because you were cooperative and we believe that you will discipline your child and
Absolutely,
prevent that
for
from
sure.
happening again. But we do have to recoup the money for the district.
Sure.
So I make that proposal.
And I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, Chris, thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir.
And,
We got attorneys, we gotta pay them.
Okay, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. He's got a lot of grass to cut.
And they're
I'm
expensive.
confident that you've got it under control.
Yes, sir. So, where do I go from here? What do I do?
Paul?
Yeah, Ms. Horsley, what I'll do is I'll send you, where to pay. If you don't, I mean, I can just text it to you.
Yes,
You'll
sir.
just send in a check, and it'll go to the district's office and, take care of it.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate your
Yeah.
time, fellas. Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, fellas.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thanks for coming in.
All right,
I appreciate it, guys. Stay dry.
Yep, you too. All right, and then the next item is pending business, and I wanna revisit, park maintenance matters. We've got issues with dead trees. The laurel trees are dying based on a beetle that is also passing along a disease. And the laurel trees are dying, and the way that the wind is blowing, it blows this disease north because we have so much south wind. And it's gonna start killing trees on the north side of Charleston, as well as homeowners' yards. Some of the issues that we've gotta rectify is that some of the trees are borderline between us and the CIA. And for us to say that it's up to the CIA to cut it, or for them to say it's up to us to cut it, I think some of these, maybe we share it and just split it down the middle. because some of these trees are the borderline along the easement,
Sounds reasonable.
okay?
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea, I wish I thought of it. But in the meantime, we need to get a couple of estimates on getting these trees cut down. So, I'll get with Jay, and I'll get with, there's another guy that the CIA uses also. And I'll get a couple of numbers, and get some trees counted, and figure out what it's gonna cost us.
Again.
Yes, again,
Yep.
okay? So I make that motion that we work to get these trees cut down.
I second.
Okay, I second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
There's no more, any other pending business? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
8:18,
second.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. The next meeting is May 22nd, 6:30.